Hello everybody on YouTube. This is the battle at Cynoscephalae in 197 BC. This is a battle between the Romans and the Macedonians. This battle takes place in the Second Macedonian War. Well, if there's a second, there's also a first one. After the Second Punic War, the war against Hannibal, the Romans lack money, they lack military resources because the Second Punic War cost a lot of money, it cost a lot of manpower. So in the First Macedonian War, the Romans go over to Macedonian territory, but they keep their fights low scale, usually ambushes and trying to capture cities. The Macedonians also have allies, other Greek city-states that join the Macedonians or are forced to join the Macedonians, and the Romans try to disband that connection, and it works. In the beginning some city-states turn over to Rome, but a couple of years later Macedon is again powerful again and has many other city-states rejoining them. So a second war is needed, and the decisive battle is at Cynoscephalae. This is the situation where the battle takes place. Cynoscephalae means dog's heads, and it has to do with this little drawing here. You have to see it from above. This is a hill, a very hilly terrain, including 3 major hills. And without knowing, the Romans camp here, and the Macedonians camp here, and they're not aware that they're close by actually. And well, what happens that day, I'm going to tell you now. Like I said, both armies are encamped. They're not aware that they're close by. In the morning, both sides send scouts, light armed, and some cavalry to check out the top of the hill and see if they can find any enemies. Well, they do bump into each other. They're surprised because, like I said, they had no idea that the enemy was close by. This is a small engagement that goes up and forward. You know, they push them back and they push them up and up and up and down the slopes. And in the meantime, both armies send scouts to their camps, to their generals, to tell them that the enemy is close by and maybe it's time for a big battle. King Philip gets reports that the Romans are nearby. The Romans are led into battle by a guy named Fallanx. He also hears that the enemy is close by. But you have to understand, early morning these hilltops are covered in mist. So both sides can't really see what's happening on the ridge. Anyway, the Romans, they do assemble a part of their army, and so does Philip, and the army starts marching towards the hill, and so do the Romans. Philip and Fallanx also decide to send in more light armed troops, and the light armed troops that are already engaging withdraw a bit backwards, including bits of the cavalry, to make place for the main force. And you have to understand that light armed troops are placed at the flanks to avoid some sort of encirclement, including the cavalry. Now the Macedonians put all their cavalry on this flank. The Romans of course withdraw also, and one battle line is already formed right over here. But as you can see, the Romans, both the Romans and the Macedonians, they use half of their army. Now the Romans are aware that this could be a very decisive battle, so they already lead out their second line. Philip is a bit hesitant. He's not really aware of is this going to be decisive or not. Shall I deploy all my soldiers? But the mist is getting clear, and when he looks at the top, he knows this is going to be a big battle. So he has a second general named Nicanor, and he asks Nicanor to get his army on the other flank. And this is what happens. Now, this battle is a battle between Rome and Macedon, but it's also a battle between 2 military techniques. The Macedonians fight the way Alexander did. They use the Fallanx, and the Fallanx, we have them right over here, and we have them here coming up. The Fallanx are soldiers who have spears, long spears, they're like 7-8 meters long, and it's designed to push the enemy away. The Romans don't fight with Fallanx, they fight with a short sword, the Spanish sword. It makes them more flexible, and Yeah, it gives them a tactical advantage, especially because this is a very hilly area, and you have to understand, if you have a wall of spears and you want to push away the enemy, the wall of spears has to be straight, and it's very difficult in an area like this. But anyway, the two sides do meet. Now, like I said, both armies meet each other on the top of the ridge, aided of course by light wing, cavalry, light wing. Now the first lines that were already sent into battle reach each other at the slope. As you can see here, Nicanor is coming with more phalanx, and the Romans already in a nice line already go up the slope. But this time, and it's very rare for Romans, but the Romans managed to use some elephants. They have about 20 elephants, and they want to put them also in the battle. Now, like I said, the Romans short sword, it makes them maneuverable, it gives them a tactical advantage, and they go up the slope. The Macedonians enter also in the battle, but they still have to deploy. They still have to move into position, they have to keep everything straight. The Romans in the meantime put their cavalry on this side. Some light armed troops of the Macedonians go to this side. And what happens now is that this side of the Macedonians is winning from the Romans. They push the Romans back. Yeah, you have to understand, the Romans get pushed back down the slope. It's also an advantage if you move downwards. You have, in weight and everything, you just have an advantage. And what you get is a situation like this. The light armed troops keep some sort of shield to protect the armies from envelopment. However, on this side, like I said, this is an army that's not fully deployed, and this army is being attacked, of course, by the Romans and their elephants. But because this army is not deployed yet in the proper way, they get pushed away backwards. The Roman cavalry managed also to take on the light armed troops from the Macedonians. And what you can see here is, the Romans are being pushed back here, but they win here. And all of a sudden, in this area, we have a gap. Now, what we get now is the final stage of the battle. Like I said, here we have the gap. Now you have to understand, all these the phalanx soldiers, they have their fixed position. Yeah, they stand in a certain line, and because they have a long spear, they're very they're not very maneuverable. The Romans, they fight with short swords, and also their army is organized in cohorts and maniples. Plus the generals are able to make individual decisions if they see fit during a battle. And this is what happens because these both lines push each other away. There's a big gap existing over here. Now, a Roman officer sees this and takes about 2,000 men from the Roman rear and attacks this line, the winning side of the Macedonians, in the back. This creates a lot of chaos, and what happens is this line is already being pushed away because they're not organized, and because there's a big turmoil in the back, they're being pushed back, which leads into a gigantic rout. Everybody's trying to flee for his life. The Macedonian soldiers, as a sign of surrender, lift their spears. Now, either the Romans don't understand the signal, or they do understand the signal but are aware of the fact that they can annihilate an army. The army is routed, and I completely forgot to tell you, the Macedonians had about 20,000 heavy infantry. The Romans had the same number, 20,000, and both sides had about 2,000 cavalry. And the Macedonians had about 4,000 light armed troops, slingers and archers, and the Romans had about 1,000 of them. So the army is routed, Philip has to flee, and he has to come to terms with the Romans, and after that the Macedonian power is over. So in a nutshell, the battle at Cynoscephalae, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much.